You know that feeling, we've all had this feeling, when you buy a cute pair of shoes or something like that you saw on Instagram, and then they show up and you wear them for a day or two and they're just not what you hoped they'd be. Or when you buy a movie ticket and halfway through the show, you think to yourself, ugh, I should have stayed home or maybe gone to see a different movie. We've all been there. We've all had versions of buyer's remorse. And right now, it feels a lot like a lot of Trump voters are entering their very own buyer's remorse era. I mean, think about it this way. Back in 2024, Trump won the support of 81% of voters who ranked the economy as their number one issue. He won 81% of them, or he won. That was their big issue. But fast forward to present time, and a new poll out just this week found that a record 63% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy. Just take a look at this chart. That's just it. There it is, right on the screen. The light red line at the top that you can see right there is Trump's economic approval rating during his first term. It's essentially hovering around the same place the whole time. Pretty consistent. That dark red line you can see kind of on the one side of the screen is Trump's economic approval rating during his second term. And as you can see there, it's basically plummeting off of a cliff. And it's not just the economy that is driving feelings of buyer's remorse for Trump voters. I mean, Trump ran for president repeatedly promising that as president, he wouldn't get us into any new wars. A promise, by the way, he now insists that he never made.
One of your consistent campaign promises was no new wars, going all the way back to 2015. Did you break that promise to the American people?
No. Under Trump, we will have no more wars.
I didn't guarantee no war. If Trump comes back, you won't have any wars. You won't have any wars. So, when you say I promised, I didn't promise anything.
They said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Trump absolutely did promise repeatedly that he would not start any new wars. It was kind of a shtick he said all the time. He also promised that he was the great deal maker and that he could negotiate an end to any conflict. That was also part of his regular shtick. But now he's failing on both counts. I mean, for the past 2 days, we watched Trump's ceasefire with Iran fall apart as the two countries resumed fighting. Then this morning, Trump once again teased a big, devastating strike against Iran and threatened to take over their oil industry, only to back away at the last second, claiming once again that a peace deal was imminent. There is no imminent peace deal, clearly. Now, tonight he's claiming that Iran is ready to sign a deal with while Iranian officials are publicly denying any such thing. The man is basically stuck and in way over his head. That is very clear more than 100 days into this war. It's the same thing we've seen over and over and over again since the beginning of this conflict. And the people who bought Trump's no new wars pledge now also have buyer's remorse. In that same new poll I mentioned earlier, almost the entire country, a full 92% of voters, say they think the war will last another month or longer, rejecting Trump's claim that an end to the war is imminent. And 2/3 of Americans, 67%, think Trump has been ineffective in negotiating with Iran. When it comes to Trump and his policies, there are signs of buyer's remorse basically everywhere you look. People who voted for him who are thinking, this isn't what I voted for, or this isn't what I want. Even take the things Trump himself is excited about, like the big UFC fight he's planning to host on the South Lawn of the White House for his 80th birthday on Sunday. A new Reuters Ipsos poll found that only 16% of Americans think it's appropriate for Trump to hold that event, which means that most of the people who voted for him are not on board with his big birthday party. And we're seeing that kind of buyer's remorse is not only evident in the polls, but also in conversations with real people in places that were key to Trump's victory. In states like Ohio, for example, which have become so red in the last several years, it almost felt outside the grasp of Democrats, like Democrats are being unrealistic and trying to compete in the state. I mean, in the 2020 election, he won it by 8 points, Trump did. Then in 2024, he won Ohio by 11 points, in large part because of repeated promises to boost the economy and bring back manufacturing jobs. No more shipping jobs overseas. But guess what? That's exactly where Ohio's jobs are going. In January, several Ohio factories announced plans to close, including this Conn-Selmer instrument plant in Eastlake, the one you can see there on your screen. The plant's billionaire owner, John Paulson, a close ally of Trump, I would note, offshored all of those jobs to China. Annette Dombrowski is a 3-time Trump voter and a janitor at that Eastlake, Ohio plant. At the end of the month, on June 30th, she's going to be officially out of a job. MS Now reporter Alex Tebbett went to her house this week and asked her how she felt when she was laid off and whether she thinks Trump understands what she is going through.
I actually have panic attacks. I've had a couple this past week. And I get very emotional over it. I don't want to work anymore, but I can't afford to retire.
Obviously, President Trump is immensely wealthy, has been wealthy since he was born.
Yeah.
Do you think he understands?
No. No. He hasn't lived it to understand it. He sees it, he has not lived it. He needs to live it. Wear the clothes, wear the shoes, wear your Walmart clothes, wear your Walmart shoes. Do your thrift store shopping. Don't eat steaks. I don't get to go out to dinner. It's not an overnight thing, but it's been 2 years now. You said you'd bring down the grocery prices. Literally, I must be the most angry person when I grocery shop because I buy the same things every week and I see it jump every week. It is not every couple months. It's literally every week.
Our reporter Alex Tebbett also spoke with another 3-time Trump voter, a man named Chris Tackett, a trucker from Ohio, who expressed deep frustration with Trump's broken promises.
When President Trump said he wasn't going to start foreign wars, when he said he was going to bring down prices, did you believe him?
Yeah. I mean, his first term, I think he held true to everything that he said he was going to do. I think he fought for everything he said he was going to fight for. This time around, I haven't seen it. He's backtracked on every single pitch point he had during his election. He's backtracking on. All we heard was drill, drill, drill during the election, and now all we're getting is drilled into the dirt with these prices. So I'm not a fan of him. I voted for Trump all 3 terms. To be honest with you, I'm not a big supporter of him at this point.
3-time Trump voter. I'm not a big supporter of him at this point, is what he had to say. Now, that Ohio voter also had another message for Trump.
If you could talk directly to President Trump, what would you tell him right now?
Get it together, man. The average American is struggling to make ends meet right now. And nobody wants to hear the war's almost over. Nobody wants to hear it's going to get better. You've had a year to make it better at this point. Make it better. Make America great again, right?
More than a year, to be exact. And there was also a 1-time Trump voter who had a more explicit message for Trump, which I think kind of encapsulates the buyer's remorse we've been seeing lately on a number of issues.
If you could talk to President Trump directly right now, what would you tell him?
Do you want me to really say it on air? I say you. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to any leader, but he's disrespectful to us, and he doesn't care. So
he's disrespectful to us, and he doesn't care. That again, a guy who voted for Trump. Trump's disrespect for his own supporters is essentially destroying the coalition that put him in the White House to begin with. And it's not just voters he's pushing away. It's also Republican politicians who have loyally supported his agenda, sometimes embarrassingly loyal. Now, Trump upended his party's plans last month when he decided to snub Republican Senator John Cornyn of Texas and endorse his scandal-plagued primary opponent, Ken Paxton, who then defeated Cornyn. Now, for the first time since his bitter primary loss, John Cornyn is putting his own Trump buyer's remorse on full display in a new interview with the New York Times. And among other things, he's predicting that Trump's final 2 years in office will be the most miserable of his life. And he's warning that, quote, I think it's going to be a pretty bumpy ride for the next 7 months, which is, of course, referring to the remainder of Cornyn's own term in office. Cornyn also made reference to the famous incident in the Oval Office where Trump berated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, saying, as the president told President Zelensky when he was in his office a year or so ago, he said, you don't have any cards. Well, we've got some cards to play. There we go. And when asked about Trump's post-election claim that Cornyn would remain his friend, Cornyn told The Times, if that's the way friends treat you, you wonder about his enemies. Hell hath no wrath like a Republican scorned, I guess.